Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, November 1st, 2017. I am Rochelle Baptiste with the details. The Milton Cato Memorial Hospital has over the past year received funding to purchase medical equipment under the Grant Assistance Grassroots Human Safety Projects, the GPP, as part of efforts to improve the quality of healthcare service provided at the medical facility. On Tuesday afternoon, October 31st, 2017, a ceremony was held to officially close the project and give an account of the use of the medical equipment, as well as express gratitude to the government and people of Japan for their support. Nikita Tony tells us more on the closing ceremony in this report.
Cato Memorial Hospital, MCMH, is said to be better equipped to provide efficient healthcare services through its blood bank, pharmacy, operating theatre and urology unit from the financial support of the Japan Grassroots Human Safety Projects, GPP, which assisted with the purchasing of medical equipment in the tone of some US $90,792.31. A contract for the project was jointly signed between the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Japan on the 19th of January 2016. Speaking at the official closing ceremony held on Tuesday, October 31st, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sir Louis Straker expressed gratitude to the government and people of Japan for their continued solidarity and contribution to SVG social and economic development.
A little over 240,000 EC dollars. These would purchase equipment which we requested, the Ministry of Health requested of our friends from Japan in order to promote better health care for our people here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Through Foreign Affairs, that we have been able to source so much for the enhancement, economic and social enhancement of our country.
Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission of the Embassy of Japan in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, Yoshinori Yakabe, outlined his government's commitment to contribute to the continued development of SVG.
It is our hope that the benefits reaped from these grants will further enhance the quality of health care provided by the hospital, while improving patient care for the citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My government remains committed to the continued strengthening of bilateral relations with St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to providing support in the key areas of public health, education, and poverty alleviation.
Reflecting on the recent and ongoing developmental support given by the Japanese government, especially towards SVG's healthcare sector, Minister of Health Luke Brown gave an overview of how the funds were allocated.
We have $90,000 in all, of which $34,000 US was used for the purchase of urology equipment. In terms of the blood bank, we had 12,000, just over 12, almost $13,000 used for the purchase of supplies for the blood bank. Then the bronchoscope cost just over $40,000. In a very tangible way, they've contributed to our healthcare security, and they've contributed to our ability to bring into being, even more so, this whole ideal of universal access to health and universal health coverage, which we pursue.
Funds provided through the grant assistance went towards the procurement of some 62 pieces of equipment to supply the urology unit, a mobile blood bank, and a bronchoscope. The equipment are said to go a long way in enhancing the operation of the MCMH and the provision of better health care to all Vincentians. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Thank you, Nikita. The coming into being of the National Health and Wellness Commission is an important moment in the development of healthcare here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's the view of Health Minister Luke Brown speaking at Tuesday's launching ceremony of the Commission. Giving an overview into the genesis of the Commission, Senator Brown expressed gratitude to all members and stakeholders involved, noting that their work will be broad-based but not restricted to non-communicable diseases or NCDs, as well as their approach in tackling these issues.
Defined an NCD commission as a high-level commission, agency or task force for engagement, policy coherence and mutual accountability to implement health in all policies, an important word in the jargon, to implement health in all policies and whole of government and whole of society approaches, and to monitor and act on the determinants of non-communicable diseases, including social and environmental determinants.
Emphasizing that NCDs are the leading cause of mortality and morbidity in SVG, the health minister deemed the prevention and control of NCDs to be a public health priority which requires urgent action.
It is a big problem, but it is not a problem about which we can do nothing. It's a problem that we could tackle head-on and see results. That's why we're not standing up with our arms or hands tied behind our back or putting up or throwing up our arms in the air. We are actively pursuing a policy and an approach that could bring results. We see the wisdom of the international health organizations, and the wisdom of our own experience tells us that to have a dedicated body like this National Health and Wellness Commission would help us to make progress in the fight against non-communicable diseases.
Minister Brown further highlighted a few areas of concern that in his view should be assessed by the Commission.
I'd like you to take up that issue on whether or how rather, we will be able to effect this renewal of primary health care and the aspects or the dimensions that the renewal could take. Maybe a roadmap for unrolling this renewal. This is the serious business of the National Health and Wellness Commission, which is being brought into being today. We have problems with tobacco smoke. We have problems with diets, including the things that we have selling around our schools. We have problems with the consumption of alcohol. We have problems with physical inactivity. And we have to address these problems together. That's why we are here.
Healthcare professionals here in SVG continue to push for a healthier living as well as screening for early detection in order to prevent deaths and financial burden caused by cancer. This sentiment was expressed by the panelists on Magic 103.7 Sunday Brunch program, where issues surrounding the cost of cancer treatment as well as campaign for early detection were emphasized. Oncologist at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, Melissa Miguel, made it clear that treatment for one form of cancer may not work for another.
For those patients who are HER2 positive, you need a type of therapy that we refer to as targeted therapy. So that therapy in particular would not affect other cells of your body. It just goes and it looks for those cells that would express the HER2 receptor. And then that drug called trastuzumab or Herceptin is going to target those cells expressing that receptor. But that drug, one vial of that drug costs between $3,000 and $4,000. And you need to have the you need to US dollars, and you need to have that drug for at least a year. Okay, so yes, we sometimes some people say maybe we are exaggerating, you know, but it isn't. It is far from an exaggeration of what we need and the economic burden that it can place on a nation.
President of the SVG Medical Association, Dr. Rosalind Ambrose, spoke on some constraints which prevent pharmacists from stocking up on certain medication used for the treatment of cancer.
So we may say stock up on treatment A and treatment B and treatment C. So what happens when you get the lady who comes with tumor D? All of those things you have for A, B, and C will not work for her. And then we need to have access to another different line of management. So in that way, it's not something people often say, oh, they don't have this and they don't have that. And if you ask pharmacies to order this, one is very expensive. Two, because of the nature of chemotherapy agents, you can't quite put it on the shelf like a tin of corned beef and leave it there. It needs to be used within a certain period of time, and if you don't have enough patient volume for that, then that becomes a financial loss. So there are so many nuances as to how do you deal with cost of cancer treatment, that the broad brush of, oh, they don't have this and oh, they don't have that, that there are implications as to why it is like that.
Dr. Ambrose added that more must be done to promote healthier living and regular screening to prevent and detect early stage of cancer.
As a nation and in any country, we need to continue to push for healthy living, because that would chop down one of the risk factors, but there's still the other 5 or 6 that overlap. And so we need to encourage healthy living. We need to continue to encourage early detection. And this one, you see, if you take prostate cancer, which is one of the biggest question ones, like, why are we not getting a handle to that? And we spoke earlier on about the maleness attitude, about that. But in most of the statistics, and particularly to do with the Latin America and the Caribbean, there are more men dying of cancers than there are women dying of cancers. And the majority of those have to do with prostate. Okay? So that is one that we could do better at if we have earlier detection. If we encourage men to do, the people talk about screening programs, but screening programs are very expensive.
In other news, residents on the Grenadine island of Mairo have been encouraged to be their neighbor's keeper. This encouragement comes from MP for the Southern Grenadines, Terence Oliver, as he spoke at the launch of a new water resource management project on the Grenadine island. The project, which has a budget of $100,000 aims at improving the water storage capacity on the island by providing 50 residents with a 1,000-gallon tank, and will also see the repair of existing water catchment systems. Oliver said that the project will have a positive effect on the island, which is easily impacted by water shortage, and use the opportunity to encourage the residents to be their neighbor's keeper.
This project is to supply 50 tanks to the most deserving persons on this island. And we are indeed, I know, out of 87 to 90 houses, they have to choose, or we have to choose 50 houses, and I hope those that do get, those that don't get, be happy for those who get. We have to be our brother's keeper and look out for our neighbors and the persons close to us. Because sometimes when we who have the big tanks, and those who have none at all, when they come to ask for a little bucket, they come today, they come tomorrow, and you watching your little supplies in your tank, your remarks is, but they ain't time come. So by they getting the tank, it will help you to keep a steady supply of what you have, and will give them the opportunity to increase their supply of water.
Also speaking at the ceremony was Minister of Economic Planning Camilo Gonzalez, who examined the usage of water on the mainland and said the additional 70,000 gallons of water will have a positive effect on residents of Mairo.
At that rate, a 70,000 gallon addition to Mairo is over 2 weeks of additional water here in Mairo. And that is significant in times of drought. Because in times of drought, it's sometimes those 1 or 2 weeks when you really need water and can't get it. And the water has to be shipped from St. Vincent, and you have to wait for the boat to come. And we know in 2010, it was particularly bad. The drought was particularly bad. And we remember how difficult it was to get water at that time. If you had here in Mairo an additional 2-3 weeks of water, you would have been able to ride out some of the worst days in that drought. So it's not just tanks for individuals, it is going to make a real difference and a real benefit to the quality of the lives of the people here in Mairo.
Gonzalez said application questionnaires will be distributed to residents on the island to ensure that all can apply for one of the water tanks, and highlighted what aspects will be given greater consideration.
Levels, your occupation, whether or not you have a job, the age of the people in the house, how much water storage capacity you currently have. It doesn't make sense giving you 1,000 if you have 3,000 already outside your house. How many children you have in the house, the amount of people in the house, and other resources and assets. We're going to give priority to people who have low income, households that have low income or no income, to the unemployed, to head of households headed by women, to people who have disabilities or are aged, to people who have low water storage capacity or a high number of dependents, or people who are only employed for a season. And we know that is true for a lot of people here in Mairo.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has called for a closer working relationship with American Caribbean states, the ACS, and other regional entities in combating challenges posed by natural disasters. PM Gonsalves made this call while addressing the ACS inaugural Excellence Lecture held in Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday. According to Dr. Gonsalves, the ACS must work closely with entities, particularly the OECS, CARICOM, ALBA, and specialized agencies such as SEDIMA in order to streamline coordination of disaster preparedness. PM Gonsalves urged member countries of the ACS to embrace the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, which seeks to substantially reduce disaster risk and loss of lives and livelihoods. The Prime Minister urged for the signing of a comprehensive memorandum of understanding between ACS and SEDIMA, noting that greater coordination is necessary. He said ACS must mainstream climate change in all functional activities of cooperation and coordination while focusing on the protection, preservation, and sustainable development of the Caribbean Sea. Students here who successfully sat the 2017 examinations for their CSEC Cape and Associate degrees will be awarded tomorrow, Thursday, November 2nd, with a $500 gift for their performance. To qualify for the award, CSEC students must have gained 5 passes, grades 1 through 3, including mathematics and English A. Cape students must have gained passes in grades 1 to 4 in at least 2 subjects, as well as in the single unit communication studies in 2 consecutive years. Students in the various associate degree programs must have gained at least a B- average. The total number of recipients is 772, categorized as follows: 420 CSEC, 232 Cape, and 120 associate degree. Recipients of the award are asked to present themselves at the Villa campus of the SVG Community College from 9:30 a.m. on Thursday with proof of identity bearing a photograph. According to the Ministry of Education, recipients who are unable to attend Thursday's handing over ceremony may collect their award at the ministry beginning Friday, November 3rd between 9:30 a.m. and 12:20 p.m. Tourism is everyone's business, and that's the slogan under which the Ministry of Tourism is hosting a series of activities throughout this month, which is designated as Tourism Month. The activities began earlier today with the annual Thanksgiving service at the Peace Memorial Hall. While giving an overview of the month of activities, Communications Officer in the Ministry of Tourism, J. Belmar, said it's all hands on deck as everyone has to play their role for the tourism industry to work, and stressed the need for Vincentians to embrace and explore their own country.
First of all, I want to start by thanking the stakeholders that came on board for this Tourism Month, and the invitation is still extended to those persons who want to join and have initiatives that you wish to do during Tourism Month. The Reef Guardian School program we're going to launch at the Calico Anglican School on Monday the 6th. That's the Reef Guardian pilot project at that school. And on the 8th of November, we then go to visit the farmers. So I believe it's 4 farmers that we're piloting right now. So on the Wednesday the 8th, we will be visiting the farmers as part of that program. As part of the season, as we prepare our stakeholders, we'll be having training, human resource development training with craft vendors, because during the month we would always have exhibitions, and we found it important to have training sessions with these craft vendors before the ships come here, so they will be prepared in terms of tourism education, pricing, labeling.
Making mention of one of the activities to be held during the month, the Just Like Air Tourist Day, Belmar extended an invitation to all agencies to get involved in the initiative.
That is the day that we come to work dressed up as if we are going on vacation. We do have rules and regulations for those persons who wish to join us. It's extended to all agencies. There will be a prize this year given to the best dressed team and the most creative team. Minister Mackey came out with his straw hats and his vacation attire last year. So I don't know if you can outdo him, but you can try this year. So Dress Like a Tourist Day is on the 10th of November.
The Tourism Communication Officer added that an opportunity will also be given to members of the public to develop their tourism industry knowledge and other skills.
We're inviting you to register because places are limited and we can't facilitate everybody. But on the 13th and the 16th of November, we would have training. 15th of November, we'll be visiting our students. We find it important to engage with our students to increase the awareness of the industry, to foster academic discourse on the tourism industry, and to share ideas between both the stakeholders and the students. 17th of November, as Minister Mackey would have said, the Britannia is back with their 4,000 passengers plus crew, and on that day we'll be having an art and craft exhibition at the Port Authority lawn. 21st of November will be the media tour, and on the 23rd we will be having the Logos. So Logos Hope, which is the largest floating book fair in the world, and they're returning to Port Kingstown. I believe the last time they were here was 2009. On the 25th of November, which is something that we usually do to wrap up the month's activities, will be the annual awards and cocktails, where we honor and recognize persons who had outstanding contributions throughout the year in the tourism industry.
A one-day seminar on promoting corporate social responsibility and sustainable livelihoods among Eastern Caribbean farmers was held here on Monday. The seminar was spearheaded by the Ministry of Economic Planning in collaboration with the Caribbean Policy Development Center, the CPDC, the European Union, and the Windward Islands Farmers Association, WINFA. Giving remarks at the opening ceremony, coordinator of WINFA, Cauzel Peters, said the critical issue of sustainable development not only involves another critical issue of sustainable farming, but also that of corporate and social responsibility of all stakeholders in the sector.
As you know, WINFA, as a regional farmers organization, one of our mandate is to work with stakeholders within the agricultural sector and with members as well of civil society organizations to build responsiveness to the challenges of sustainable development. Sustainable agriculture is part of the global architecture for achieving sustainable development, and it is in this regard that this morning we want to embark on this session on climate smart agriculture, but not just to leave it there, to extend it broader to this whole issue of corporate social responsibility, which for a lot of our participants this morning might be a bit new, but which really isn't.
Peters took the opportunity to highlight what exactly corporate and social responsibility is and how it impacts the thrust for sustainable agriculture.
Corporate social responsibility, from the way I see it in its simplicity, is just another way of building out Goal 17 of the Sustainable Development Agenda, which speaks about partnership for development, and it's about saying to our farmers, our civil society organization, our businesses, that you have a part to play in ensuring that we achieve these 17 goals that we have so embarked on this journey, you have a role by paying attention to the impacts of whatever you do at the farm level in your businesses, the impacts that that has on society, but also on the environment. So that's a very simple way of putting it. This morning, you would hear from Pro NGO, you would hear from CPDC on all that entails and how we develop a broader framework for tying in corporate social responsibility within the work that we already do on sustainable agriculture.